This NBC5 News presentation is brought to you by Sherm's Food Stores, the Cow Creek Umpqua Tribe, Medford Mattress, and Lippert's Carpet One.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of NBC5 News. I'm Kristen Husfeld.
And I'm Craig Smullen. Tonight we're looking back on 2019 and the stories that made headlines in Southern Oregon and Northern California.
We begin with a look back at some of the most shared and talked about stories of 2019.
Thought of the Simpsons episode of the three-eyed fish, the nuclear reactor plant, and I'm like, okay, now what are they doing?
Who can forget the mystery thing a Medford woman says came from her faucet? It was at the top of our most viewed stories in 2019.
It's very strange to us because we've never seen that type of thing before.
The thing has still yet to be identified, but the research center believes it may be some type of mushroom or plant seed pod.
Then,
when he came back in, he said that I had committed this crime and that his sergeant wanted him to take me to jail.
A catastrophe for a Grants Pass homeowner when her neighbor's cat kept coming through her doggy door and spraying inside. Animal control told her she could trap it, then police said she'd committed a crime. It was a confusing conundrum that now has the city looking into laws surrounding felines and how many you can have, because right now there are no limits.
Just before midnight, the entire staff of Howie's walked out, leaving a free-for-all for customers inside. The downtown Medford bar is now surrendering its liquor license and in the process of selling.
Residents in East Medford got a lot of traction online for what they're posting on lawn. Signs letting developers know they don't want a new convenience store and gas station in their neighborhood.
Just not conducive to the quality of life that people are living here.
Some police calls you simply can't make up, and this one had a lot of people talking. Klamath County deputies rapidly responding to a report of a man being attacked by an axe-wielding Sasquatch.
Upon a subsequent investigation, there were no signs that Sasquatch was present.
The man who made the call did 6 days in county jail for making a false report.
Thankfully, everyone made it out okay in our sixth biggest talker. A Klamath Falls homeowner was showing a handgun to a group of Mormon missionaries when it went off. That one bullet hit 3 people, but no charges were filed.
Went through his hand, struck another victim in the arm and the shoulder, and then the bullet continued on and struck another victim in the stomach, and that bullet remains lodged in the third victim's stomach.
That amazing signature popcorn at Blind George's may not be popping much longer. The owners announcing they're retiring had thousands talking, but without a buyer, the historic store will close December 31st.
If you have a phone to check in, come do it now.
A Medford school trying something new comes in at number 8. The hope is by having kids turn in their smartphones, they'll be less distracted and more engaged.
A 3-year-old finding a bag of meth under a napkin holder at a Medford restaurant comes in at number 9.
And rounding out the top 10.
I clicked the link and it happened to be somebody I knew, and I was just like, you know what, that can't be correct.
One letter made all the difference when the President of the United States swapped a G for a J and tweeted at a local high school senior rather than a national news correspondent. The typo putting the small Northern California town of Weed on the map in a story that was shared around the world.
It was a trip. It was definitely a trip.
The 2019 fire season was nothing like what we've dealt with in recent years. State, local, and federal fire agencies had all hands on deck, especially for lightning storms. Experts say what we experienced in 2019 is what many longtime Oregonians are used to.
This is much more typical of what most of us can recall fire season being like in Southwest Oregon. You have those few days where there's smoke and then it lifts.
The largest fire in our region was the Milepost 97 fire near Canyonville. The 13,000-acre human-caused fire smoked in the Rogue Valley for several days before clearing.
Taking a look at a few of the numbers and how they compare to 2018, Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest reported 60 fires in 2019, which burned a total of 364 acres. Last year, 85 fires burned more than 230,000. And on Oregon Department of Forestry land in Southwest Oregon, 215 fires burned 324 acres. Last year, 371 fires burned more than 49,000 acres.
Over the year, we've covered a lot of missing persons cases, but none caught more attention than that of former Disney Mouseketeer Dennis Day.
The actor vanished in July of 2018, and family members didn't know he was missing until NBC5's Amanda Rose reported on the case at the start of this year.
It's a case that began in the summer of 2018 in Phoenix, Oregon. Dennis Day, an actor and original Mickey Mouse Club Mouseketeer, was last seen walking down the driveway of his home in July of 2018. His body uncovered inside his home more than 8 months after he was reported missing.
We're not saying it's a crime scene at this point, but we are handling it as a crime scene in case it is.
And it would become a criminal investigation. In July of 2019, police arrested Daniel Berta and charged him with manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, identity theft, and abuse of a corpse. Just months after the case began its process through the courts, a judge signed an order finding Berta unfit to proceed. But after being evaluated at the state hospital, he was found able to aid and assist in his own defense. Now, as he awaits trial, Day's family is seeking answers as to why it took 8 months to find a body in a home that had been searched by police. In a tort claim sent to the Phoenix Police Department in October, it informed the agency that the family is considering a lawsuit and seeking damages for, quote, the family not being able to seek justice in the criminal case against Berta and months of not knowing what happened to their loved one. As of this report, nothing has been filed or settled.
Throughout the year, we work hard to bring you exclusive and in-depth coverage stories you wouldn't see anywhere else.
At times, they are heartfelt features showcasing the best of our communities, but many times they involve asking the tough questions and getting the answers you deserve as parents, community members, taxpayers. For months, NBC5's Amanda Rose dug into the widespread and complex issues along the Bear Creek Greenway. What was designed to be a scenic pedestrian pathway spanning multiple cities has become known as a haven for the homeless, a hotbed for crime, and a huge wildfire risk.
Bear Creek is in the backyard of everybody, but nobody can really enjoy it because of the issues that we've talked about.
But about 2 or 3 years ago, we saw those issues more or less explode, and we have been struggling to try to keep up with that.
In a week-long series, we examine the enormous costs associated with maintaining it, the wildfire risk with people living along it, and the environmental impacts on the land and river from the trash and human waste that's left behind. Today, agencies and organizations are actively working to turn the tide for our area's homeless with the implementation of a livability team, the consideration of a homeless court, and new year-round shelters. To learn more, visit KOBI5.com and search The Greenway.
If we had a 800-bed or 1,000-bed jail, would he still be in custody? I don't know. You know, we don't know because we don't have that option.
A man arrested for murder should have been in custody at the time, but he wasn't. In an exclusive report, NBC5 News made an appeal to the district attorney to gain access to Justin Graham Yeager's paperwork from Community Justice. In accessing those records, we learned Graham Yeager, the sole suspect in the murder of 23-year-old Sierra Bree Clemens, was supposed to be serving a sentence at Jackson County's Work Release Center, but he took off from the facility in his orange-issued clothing. Graham Yeager remains at the jail without bail, awaiting trial.
Our series on bullying may have sparked the most action among our community. A 5th grader at Medford's Lone Pine Elementary was being bullied, and her mother says it continued into 6th grade. She filed a formal complaint with the school district when things weren't changing, but says ultimately she was forced to pull her daughter out of school.
And the bullies got exactly what they wanted. They got exactly what they wanted. They got rid of her, and the bully won.
After it aired, parents organized a rally to bring attention to the problem of bullying in their own schools. The Medford School District then hosted a forum to hear people's concerns, as well as several workshops to provide resources. The district says it may apply what it learned to district policy. Still to come on our year in review, we're looking back at a busy and wild legislative session in Salem.
And later, we're recapping the top 10 feel-good stories of 2019. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Over the course of a calendar year, we cover tens of thousands of news stories.
While a majority of what we do is inform, every once in a while we also get to showcase the best of people and the lighter things in life. NBC5's Christina Zagami has a look back at 10 feel-good stories you all enjoyed the most.
At number 10 is the story behind The Alex Show, a 90-minute program featuring Alex Bellin, who performed at the Criterion Theater for his 80th birthday. Zipping in at number 9, another senior who's proving age is just a number. Florence Beheimer celebrated her 92nd birthday with a bucket list dream of ziplining.
I'm so blessed, and I am one of the luckiest women in the world.
Pets displaced by California's deadliest wildfire found new homes in Medford. Their chance for a new leash on life comes in at number 8. At number 7 was the news that Chick-fil-A is opening in Medford come early 2020. Construction has already started on Ross Anley Drive. Then, a Rogue Valley company making history rolls in at number 6.
We wrapped the wheel in organic biodynamic Syrah grape leaves.
Rogue Creamery's Rogue River Blue Cheese won the World Cheese Award in Italy, becoming the first American company to do so. And from blue cheese to Blues Brother. At number 5 was the story of Johnny Wheels, an Oregon blues musician who got the chance to play next to Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi. Belushi hosting a party turned fundraiser for Johnny to buy a new wheelchair-friendly van.
Overwhelming, made me cry.
A major motion picture directed by a South Medford alum comes in at number 4. 5 Feet Apart hit theaters in March, produced and directed by Jane the Virgin star Justin Baldoni. A Klamath Falls woman got a life-altering cancer diagnosis 19 years ago.
For brain tumors, it's about the worst of the worst.
Doctors gave her 1 year to live, but she's still here and fighting. Her inspiring story came in at number 3.
Oh, thank you. I'm so afraid to lose them all.
A local couple stepping up on a frigid February night to buy out a hotel for the homeless. It was our second most viewed story of 2019. The incredible act of kindness set off a snowball of generosity that eventually led to getting this little boy and his dad off the streets.
Totally excited. Very so.
And our most viewed feel-good story of the year was the announcement Macklemore was putting on a free concert. The rapper performed at the Jackson County Expo in October, and thousands waited in line at various giveaways for a chance to snag tickets. That's your good news of 2019. For NBC5 News, I'm Christina Zagami.
Christina, thanks. This year we concluded a 30-week series that began at the tail end of 2018. It was called Hope, helping others persevere every day. For more than 6 months, we shared stories of local people and families who experienced homelessness but came out on top. We also shared the services and resources available to people going through the same thing. And this summer, we launched a new campaign called In This Together. It's a collaborative effort with community organizations to address the difficult topic of suicide. Nearly a dozen partners from nonprofits to law enforcement agencies have joined us in raising awareness of the growing epidemic and offering hope to those who feel hopeless. The campaign will last for 2 years, with NBC5's Blakely McHugh visiting schools, workplaces, and community events while sharing resources. You can learn more on our website. If we can save even one life, it will make this effort worth it. You are not alone. We are in this together.
This year, we lost many people who touched our lives, including Oregon Secretary of State Dennis Richardson. The former Central Point representative passed away in February after battling brain cancer. Before his nearly 2 decades of public service, Richardson was a combat helicopter pilot and a lawyer. After losing the race for governor to John Kitzhaber in 2014, he became the first Republican to win statewide office in Oregon in more than a decade.
Regardless of what side of the aisle his colleagues sat on, Dennis's kind heart guided him and his work.
From the Central Point City Council to a dozen years here in this legislature, to the 2+ years as Secretary of State, Dennis always gave his best in the great cause of public service.
Secretary Richardson is survived by his wife, 9 children, and 31 grandchildren. A pioneer in Oregon politics also passed away in 2019. Former Secretary of State Norma Paulus broke down barriers during her career in public service. She was the first woman to hold any statewide office in Oregon and wrote an autobiography titled The Only Woman in the Room. Paulus was also the last Oregonian to go to law school without earning a college degree. She was 85.
Sherm Olsrud, the owner and founder of multiple Southern Oregon grocery stores and a pillar in the local business community, passed away in May. He was 95. After serving in World War II, Sherm moved from North Dakota to Eugene to work for his uncle. It was there he met the love of his life, Wanda. The couple married 1 year later in February of 1947. Using money he received from the GI Bill, Sherm learned meat cutting and bought his first business, Sherm's Meat Market, for $500. In the 70s, the Olsruds sold the Eugene store and bought what would become Thunderbird Market in Medford. Traveling south with Wanda and their young sons Steve and Rod, Sherm and Wanda began a long, fruitful career in the Rogue Valley. And though you wouldn't know it, the Olsrud family donated to countless local organizations in support of kids, farmers, and many more. That's one of many reasons hundreds turned out at the Jackson County Expo for Sherm's memorial in June. The impact Sherm and Wanda have made to the community will last for generations.
Late this year, we also lost two of Oregon's most influential women. Agnes Baker Pilgrim, or Grandma Aggie, died in late November at the age of 95. For nearly a century, Grandma Aggie led a diverse and rich life. Recognized as a living treasure by the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz, she was the oldest living member of the Takelma people and the Confederated Tribes. Columbia Sportswear chairwoman Gert Boyle also passed away in November. She led the Portland-based clothing brand for nearly half a century. She won numerous awards, including Outstanding Business Person in Oregon, Oregon Entrepreneur of the Year, and the Outstanding Mother Award. Boyle was 95. We'll be right back. In Oregon politics, it was a wild legislative session. Hundreds of bills were up for debate, from banning plastic straws to changing the law for capital punishment.
But on two separate occasions, the issues on the table caused a divide so deep, Senate Republicans walked out of the state house, not once, but twice. Democrats had a supermajority in Salem this session, so in many cases, they didn't need votes from Republicans to pass legislation. That caused ours to take a stand in a way that hasn't been done often in Oregon's legislative history, though both sides have done it. The first walkout came over a massive education funding package. Republicans came back to pass it after Democrats dropped legislation on gun control and children's vaccination requirements. Then, a month later, Senate Republicans walked out again to prevent a climate change bill, which would have set a cap on carbon emissions.
We kept telling leadership this bill was going to devastate rural Oregon, and leadership did not believe us. Well, you know what? I think after yesterday, they might believe us now.
If you don't like a bill, go get the votes to kill it, but don't walk off the job.
Ultimately, Senate Republicans returned to the state house after 9 days when they were assured House Bill 2020 did not have the votes to pass. Among the bills passed in 2019 was the first statewide rent control bill in the nation. Under the law, landlords can raise rent no more than 7% a year plus inflation. It also makes it more difficult to evict a tenant without cause once that tenant has been in their property for more than a year.
Oregon also made national headlines for a progressive paid family leave bill signed by the governor this summer. It provides 12 weeks paid time off to new parents, victims of domestic violence, and those who become sick or need to care for a sick family member. Both employers and employees will contribute to the fund through a payroll tax, which will start no later than January of 2022. Benefits can be tapped into beginning in 2023.
The 14-year-long debate over the proposed Jordan Cove project and the accompanying pipeline continues. The natural gas pipeline would extend from Malin to Coos Bay, where gas would then be liquefied at Jordan Cove to be exported. While the Canadian company behind the project, Pembina, is getting more landowners to sign on, the Department of State Lands extended the deadline for the removal fill permit decision to January.
In community news, one of the oldest and largest nonprofit theaters in the nation had a change of leadership this year. Nataki Garrett became the Oregon Shakespeare Festival's 6th artistic director in August. Garrett replaced Bill Rausch, who had been with the theater company since 2007. At one point, the two worked in tandem on the 2019 season. This year, the organization also broke ground on a new housing complex for OSF actors and staff. They're set to open in late 2020. OSF plans to hire a new executive director in the new year as well. Paul Christie has been serving as acting executive director since January.
In the Brit Festivals, Brit Symphony and Rogue Valley Orchestra held some of their most popular seasons ever. With nearly 50 performances on the Hill and a relatively smoke-free summer, ticket sales surpassed 2018 in Jacksonville.
NBC5's president and owner Patsy Smullen brought us several exclusive stories this year. In June, Patsy sat down with Today Show anchor Jenna Bush Hager and NBC nightly news anchor Lester Holt. And in September, she spoke with Grammy-winning pop star turned talk show host Kelly Clarkson. You can see all of those interviews on our website, KOBI5.com. We've got much more to come on our year in review, including a look ahead to what's happening in 2020.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our 2019 year in review. Next year promises to be an incredible year in both Southern Oregon and Northern California and beyond, especially in politics.
Well, the country will get to weigh in on what promises to be a fascinating race for president. There's several local races we'll be watching closely. Southern Oregon will have a new U.S. representative at the end of 2020. After 30 years of public service, Republican Representative Greg Walden announced in October he will not seek re-election. Walden was elected to Congress in 1998. The fight to replace him is just beginning, and both the primary and general elections will be captivating races to watch.
Oregon Democratic U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley is looking to be reelected in 2020. Oregon's junior senator flirted with the presidential run this year, but didn't join the crowded field. He'll be looking to be reelected to his third term in the Senate next year. Who, if anyone, will challenge him in mostly blue Oregon remains to be seen.
Oregonians will elect a new Secretary of State in 2020, following Secretary Dennis Richardson's passing. Several Democrats have already joined the field, including Ashland High School grad and Central Oregon resident Jamie McLeod Skinner, Oregon State Senator Mark Hass, State Rep Jennifer Williamson, and former Director of the state's Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, Cameron Smith.
Jackson County voters will likely weigh in on whether or not they want a new jail. Sheriff Nathan Sickler's proposal is for an 800-bed facility, which would replace the current 300-bed jail that's been overcrowded for more than 30 years. If voters approve it in 2020, the new jail would be paid for through a property tax. Commissioners will decide in February if it'll go to voters in May. Medford residents could also vote on an indoor aquatic and event center in 2020. The city's Parks and Rec Department wants it built at the West Howard Memorial Sports Park in West Medford. The proposal features an indoor competition pool, an indoor-outdoor water slide, and much more. The plan could cost between $57 and $60 million, but the city is still discussing the proposal. In 2020, only NBC5 News will bring you the stories of 3 families and their loved ones in our local National Guard.
The 450 citizen soldiers from Grants Pass to Medford to Ashland are now in Northeast Africa on a 10-month tour. NBC5 News was there this fall as they gathered at SOU for a mobilization ceremony in October. We also took you into the homes of 3 members of the Guard to hear their stories of service and sacrifice.
We're all have some sort of loved one that we're leaving behind, and we're all going to do the same mission.
This coming year, we'll continue to follow their journeys both at home and abroad in an exclusive series you won't see anywhere else.
The Summer Olympics returns to NBC5 in late July in the land of the rising sun. NBC will broadcast the 2020 Games from Tokyo, Japan. But America's best track and field athletes will have to punch their ticket in Oregon, more specifically the University of Oregon's Hayward Field. The iconic track will host the USA Track and Field Olympic Trials next June.
Can't wait for that. Certainly plenty to look forward to.
It is going to be a great year.
That's right. And as we reflect on 2019, we want to say thank you to all of you who invite us into your home every night.
It's an honor and a privilege, and we take the responsibility seriously.
We hope 2020 is a happy and healthy one. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great night.
This special NBC5 News presentation was sponsored by Sherm's Food Stores, the Cow Creek Umpqua Tribe, Medford Mattress, and Lippert's Carpet One.